calling in from the WBC convention all the way in Baku. That is on another continent. So that's the type of the names that we bring to the Inside Boxing Live. Tom Loeffler calling all the way in from Baku to talk about the negotiations, to talk with you, because Inside Boxing Live is the show for the fight fans. And I want to get his opinions and his insights on how the fight is going, how the negotiations are going. Also, Chocolatito wants to get back into the ring, and I think we'll be patching in Tom Loeffler. I know he's on another continent right now, and we're going to take the call right now. Joining us on the program, Inside Boxing Live, he's Triple G promoter, the one and only Tom Loeffler. How you doing, Tom? You're on. Tom, you there? Tom? Oh, we lost him. We'll get him back. I mean, he's calling from another continent right now. He's at the WBC convention there, and if you've been following along on social media, you see that there's a lot of big champions there. I think we have him here. We got him. The one and only Tom Loeffler, joining Inside Boxing Live. Leave your comments, leave your questions for Tom. We'll try to get through to him. I think we got Tom. Tom, you there?
Yep, I'm with you.
How you doing? Dan Canobio, you're on Inside Boxing Live. First of all, thank you very much for taking this call. I know you're on another continent right now at the WBC convention. How's everything going over there?
Oh, it's good. This is my first time in Azerbaijan, in Baku, but it's a great city. It's a great convention. The WBC always puts on a great convention. They have some terrific champions here. Evander Holyfield's here, Bernard Hopkins here, Eric Morales, Nassim Hamed. I mean, just the list is on and on. Vitaly Klitschko's here.
Wow.
Who, I did the majority of his fights. So, it's great being here, and it's always nice to be on it's good to be on the show.
Well, I want to talk about your champion that you have right now, Gennady Golovkin. Obviously, I thought he won the fight. I know you thought he won the fight. Majority of people ringside thought he won the fight. How has Gennady been? Have you been talking to him, and what kind of spirits is he in right now?
He's in good spirits. It was a great event. It was a great co-promotion with Golden Boy. It was in over 200 countries, so it really became an international sporting event. But, we were all disappointed in the decision. At the same time, he still has his titles. He's still a unified champion. So if we can do a rematch, which is what Gennady wants, then, we'll do it one more time and see if we can get a more decisive decision next time.
Tom, you talk about the rematch, and you're a very important factor in this. How are the negotiations going with Golden Boy? Have you talked to him recently?
Yeah, we started the first round of the negotiations. Golden Boy wants to do it. HBO naturally wants to have the rematch. I think Golden Boy's going to sit down with Canelo this week, just see what they can work out, and then hopefully we can put it together. That's Gennady's top priority is to try to make the rematch with Canelo. It was a financial success on the show. So whenever you have a situation like that where it was a great event, financially successful, then usually it's easier to put the rematch together, and hopefully we can work out all the details with Canelo and Golden Boy.
Now, when you talk about the negotiations and down to the finer points, and unfortunately in the first fight, Adelaide Bird and the judges' scorecards came into play, and I have to ask you about that. Is that something you're going to look into more closely when you guys get together, you and Golden Boy, the appointment of the judges?
Yeah, it's always a topic. I mean, we looked at it closely this time, and
right.
I got to say, Adelaide Bird did a lot of fights for us in the past. She's done Triple G fights in the past. She's done Klitschko fights in the past, and we never really had an issue with her. I know some other promoters had an issue with her, and weren't able to get, whatever request they had filed through. But, Adelaide has always been fine. I mean, she's had some great scorecards in the past. Same with Don Trella. Same thing with him. But, with this type of a decision, we're going to, I guess, we got to scrutinize cards or the judging tendency is a little bit closer, and you never know. You can't predict how a judge is going to see that particular fight on that night. Sometimes the crowd affects what they're seeing, and if you watch the replay, I scored it 8-4 for Triple G, and if you give with the close rounds to get to Canelo, you can make an argument for 7-5. A draw is a little bit of a stretch there. You really have to give every close round to Canelo, but if you watch the replay and watch the slow motion on the replay, Gennady blocked a lot of the shots that Canelo was throwing, and when the crowd reacts when Canelo is throwing a punch, even if it's blocked, a lot of times that plays a role in the judges' minds or the judges' scoring. So I don't think there was any, collusion or anything, mischievous about the scoring. I just think it was, whatever they saw that night. And I think the majority of the fans, 80% of the fans, there was a poll that they thought Triple G won, and the majority of the media thought the same thing. So, the main thing is that Gennady, has kept his titles. And if we can make a rematch, I think the sport will win, and the fans will definitely get another great fight. And hopefully we can get a more clear or decisive result the next time.
No, it seems like, from what I hear from you, is that this rematch is inevitable and it's on the right track. Is there any possible changes in maybe a location, and in addition to maybe doing it, not waiting all the way until May? What does your camp want out of this fight?
Well, Gennady's very active, and he likes to fight often. If it was up to him, he'd be fighting again in February or March. Originally, he wanted to fight in December. We were talking about, if he won, potentially fighting Cotto in December. But, the December plan is a little bit, they're definitely on hold right now, because by the time we get an answer from Golden Boy and Canelo, it'll be too short a time to fight in December. So, I've told Golden Boy that if the rematch is possible, that's the first priority, and Canelo seems to have made it clear he doesn't want to fight it until May, which, financially it's understandable. That's Cinco de Mayo. It's a major Mexican holiday, so, we would concede the timing to May 5th if we can work out the details on the rematch.
Now, Tom, I know Triple G, he's had, he has a direct plan for his career, and a lot of times fighters after fights, they say, I'm going to talk to my promoter and whatever he wants next, but it seems like Triple G knows exactly what he wants. Does he come to you with what he wants, or do you kind of give him a list of options? Maybe not necessary for this one, because it seems like the options you guys both want are Triple G, or Canelo. But does he ever come to you with what he wants to do?
With Triple G, it's a really unique situation. I've been in boxing for over 25 years. I've never had a situation where you have a world champion, in fact, a unified world champion, and in 2016 it was so hard to get anyone to fight him. It was just bizarre. I've worked with so many world champions, Kevin Kelly and Shane Mosley and the Klitschko brothers, and whenever you have a world champion and you're offered a reasonable purse, fighters are willing to fight him. And with Triple G, it's just when he had that 23 knockout streak, it was just nobody wanted to get in the ring with him. It was like they wanted retirement money, like it was their last fight, just to get in the ring with him. It was really bizarre, like almost that we had to pay the opponents more to fight him than the champion, which is really unheard of in the sport of boxing. But right now we're focused on Canelo to get the rematch. He would have liked to have done the fight last year when the WBC mandated it, but Golden Boy and Canelo the whole time said we'll do it in September 2017, which they lived up to their word, and hopefully we can do the rematch and then go from there. But Gennady's one of those guys. He just said, when we're talking about which locations and everything like that, he said it doesn't matter what it is. He said just give me a boxing ring and give me Canelo and I'll fight him. So that's he's very easy to deal with on his side. It's just working out the details on the other side sometimes gets complicated.
That's why so many fans love Triple G, because he's an old-school fighter. And another old-school fighter that you represent is Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. I saw a report that's saying that he does want to fight. He wants to continue his career. What would you advise your fighter to do here after suffering a brutal loss like he did?
Chocolatito is a legend in the lighter divisions. You know, whenever you can be universally recognized as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in a sport, you know, at that division, at 112 or 115 pounds, I mean, you're doing something that's incredible in the sport of boxing. So, whatever Roman has accomplished in his career, it's certainly worthy of Hall of Fame status. You know, if he wants to continue to fight, we'll certainly support his decision. You know, we'll sit down with his promoter, Mr. Honda from Taiken Promotions, and his manager, Carlos Bondon, and see what direction they want to go into. And, you know, Chocolatito has the heart of a champion, and just he's another guy that just wants to fight and show that he's the best. And, you know, if you look at his opponents, I mean, it's just like such a row of opponents, from Quadras to he fought Brian Valoria, and then he fought Sorongasai twice. It's just, you know, so many great opponents that he fought. Arroyo he fought, you know, it's a tough Puerto Rican fighter. You know, there's no easy fight in those lighter divisions, especially if you want to be on HBO. HBO has the mindset of, you know, you want to be on HBO, you got to fight a tough fight, and he just has so many tough fights in a row. So we have to give him credit for that. And it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to continue to fight and get a little bit of an easier fight in the next fight, especially with that type of a loss. You know, it was hard to see him laying on the canvas, but, you know, we have all the respect in the world for him and his team, and we'll wait to see, you know, what they want to do as far as making a decision.
Yeah, I hope to see him back in the ring and bring him back the glory there to the ring. Now, Tom, I appreciate you joining the show, and you can get back to the WBC convention, and we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Sounds good. I appreciate that.
All right, take care. That's Tom Loeffler joining Inside Boxing Live, the promoter for Triple G, and he had some interesting things to say. He said that the negotiations are going great with Golden Boy, and from everything that he said, it doesn't seem like that fight there's nothing getting in the way of that fight happening in May. Obviously, Canelo doesn't want to fight until May, which is his right, and it's a big date, May 5th. The Cinco de Mayo actually falls on a Saturday, and it's interesting because Triple G has always kept this same schedule, this rigid schedule of fighting, you know, every 3 or 4 months. Like, he fought in September, so everyone knows that he's going to fight in December, but that's not going to be the case here. He pretty much said that Triple G will not be fighting in December. You heard it here first on Inside Boxing Live. He's going to wait it out because they just don't have enough time to make an announcement if the Triple G Canelo fight falls through. So everything Tom Loeffler said here, it seems like Triple G Canelo is going to be made for May 5th. It sounded pretty confident in there. And also Chocolatito. Chocolatito suffered that brutal loss. It was tough to see him out on the canvas, but just like Tom said, Chocolatito's been in the ring with so many warriors. He was, 47-0 before he even appeared on HBO. I mean, the guy has been in the ring with everyone, and if he wants to get into the ring again, he's not going to stop him. Tom said he's not going to get in the way. He's going to work with his team. They've been a pleasure to work with, and he's going to get back into the ring with them. So we have to thank Tom Loeffler for joining Inside Boxing Live, calling all the way from Baku and another side of the world. That's what we bring to you here. It's the show for the fans, Inside Boxing Live. Don't forget to send us your comments in the comment section. Tweet us. We want to talk to you, the fans. The show is built for you. We want to give you the biggest names in the sport. Lou DiBella will be joining us momentarily. We're wrangling Lou. We all know how hard that is. That's never an easy task, getting Lou on the phone. But I do want to talk about the 10-14 Showtime card. The Trout versus Hurd. Lubin, Charlo, Gaucher, and Lara. Lou DiBella is also promoting that fight. That is going to be a dynamite card. That's one fight, or 3 fights, I should say, that we know are happening. God forbid something happens, but we know there is no drug issues with them, and that it was cool what the Barclays Center was doing there. They were doing a 2-for deal where you can buy tickets to both events, sit in the same seats, and it looks like November 4th is still going to happen. Whether Wilder gets in the ring with Ortiz remains to be seen, and we're going to talk to Lou and get his thoughts on it because it's up in the air right now. I mean, people don't know. I mean, is it? That's why I want to get Lou on the phone, because we don't know if the fight is 100% happening. We don't know who he's fighting, and I want to talk to Lou DiBella about that. But on October 14th, you will get your fight at Barclays Center, and right now we are taking the call from the one and only Lou DiBella. Lou, you there?
I'm here.
How you doing, Lou? You're on with Dan.
How are you guys?
Good. How's everything going?
Okay, no complaints.
No complaints. We got you on the show. I think you know what we want to talk about. The Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz. We got a little issues here with the failed drug test.
I got a bad connection on your end.
Can you hear me?
I'm hearing interference on your end.
Can you hear me, Lou?
I can hear you now, but there's like something that sounds like it's like breaking, clicking.
Okay, how about now?
I can hear you.
All right, here we go. We want to talk about, obviously, Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. What better man to talk about?
Guys.
What better? Hold with us for 1 second, Lou. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Lou?
It's not me, because it's not me. I'm on the land, and I have full signal.
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. But you're not hearing me?
You're breaking up.
I'm gonna have, okay, we'll have you call us and we'll try to figure this out. Having some issues here with Lou. He's on the land. Lou is on the land, and we'll try to get him on the phone. But obviously, we want to talk about Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz. That's why we got Lou on the show, and it's a fight. It's like the biggest news in boxing right now, and we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to figure out who's he going to be fighting. When's the fight happening? We know that Deontay Wilder will be in the ring November 4th. Will he be fighting Luis Ortiz? Will he be fighting Dominic Breazeale? Dylan White? Mike Tyson? Who knows at this point? We want to get some clarity on this. I know that there were some emails circulating about cancellations from StubHub. Those seemed like they were inaccurate, because the event is not canceled. The event is still going forward. And I just feel terrible for Deontay Wilder. I mean, the guy, it's not his fault that these guys keep falling out, and with drug problems and cheating, quite frankly. And we don't know if Luis Ortiz is cheating. I mean, he's putting up a pretty good defense, saying that the blood pressure medication that he took was a diuretic. But, you know, we'll see what happens. I think we got Lou again. Lou, are you there? Are you with us?
Hey.
Is this better?
100%.
Oh, you sound great, man. It's great to hear from you. We're talking with DiBella Entertainment promoter here of Deontay Wilder, Lou DiBella. How you doing today, Lou?
Good to be with you.
Obviously, we got you on for a reason. We want to talk about Wilder-Ortiz. A lot of confusion out there about if the fight's still going to happen, who's he going to be fighting. What's the latest on this?
I wish I could give you some kind of definitive answer, but I can't. The latest is we're waiting out the WBC. Ortiz has a right to due process. I mean, you know, he's admitted that he took these medications, but he said that he took them, you know, it appears under a doctor's prescription for high blood pressure, but they weren't disclosed on various forms. So we're waiting for rulings of the WBC. There are other people involved, like the New York State Athletic Commission, where the fight would take place. You know, Deontay would love to fight him. He's made that very clear. But to be honest, it's not totally up to us at this point. Also, Ortiz is you know, entitled to due process of law, and you know, he's presenting, you know, evidence on his side. You know, it may have just been a really stupid mistake, that, you know, not to have reported the use of the medication. But that being said, it's still a violation of rules, and we don't know at the moment how various people are going to rule with finality. So I think it's probably a day or two away from us making an announcement. But here's what I can tell you. What I can tell you is there'll 100% be a show November 4th at the Barclays Center. Deontay Wilder will defend his heavyweight title. You know, Porter and Granados, which is a great action fight, is scheduled for that card. Sergey Lipinets in a title fight is on that card. Amanda Serrano, who might be the best pound-for-pound woman in the world, if not in the top, you know, 3 or 4, she'll be on that card. It's going to be a stacked card on
November 4th, but there's no finality yet to the situation, pending various rulings and maybe some more testing. So I figure it'll be probably another 48 hours, or but certainly by Wednesday we'll have a more formal announcement.
So by Wednesday we will know who Deontay Wilder will be fighting, whether it's Luis Ortiz. I know that there are some other names thrown out there like Dillian Whyte or Dominic Brazil or another fight with Stavern.
No one's thrown out Dillian Whyte. I mean, who gives a F about the... by the way, am I allowed to curse on the show?
We can say F. Let's just go with F.
Okay, good. Who gives an F about Dillian Whyte? Guy barely beat Chisora. Why is there this heat on Dillian Whyte? By the way, Dillian Whyte would not even be an option to us because we had a step aside arranged for, frankly, a lot of money to get Stavern to step aside, and the step aside, is a major issue. There's going to be a mandatory that Deontay's going to have to face. So if indeed Ortiz does not happen, that mandatory has to be, we have to figure out what we're doing with that. So, but look, there are other heavyweights out there. I'm not saying, you mentioned Dillian Whyte. I'm just sort of curious, other than the fact that a bunch of people in the UK have written a bunch of stuff on social media, why people are making such a big deal out of Dillian Whyte. I watched the fight with Chisora. I didn't even think he won.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the heavyweight division. There's X amount of names, and he's just one of the names in there. Dominic Brazil, Stavern. I mean, who do you want to see him? If he's not, let's say worst case scenario, Ortiz falls out.
I got to tell you something. I can answer the question without even hearing the rest of it. Who do I want to see him fight?
Yeah.
Deontay wants the biggest fights out there. I feel so sorry for him right now. And I'm not, I'm not calling Ortiz a cheater. Maybe his people were just dumb in this instant. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe this is a matter of failing to disclose. And maybe he didn't use steroids and masked them. I'm not running around. You don't see quotes from me out there calling a guy a cheater. I don't know. I know that we got a letter from VADA telling us that Ortiz did not comply with the VADA the testing program, and that put this fight in jeopardy. So I know the following, that once again Deontay Wilder is being victimized, and this is a guy that was willing to go to Russia to fight Povetkin, and not only did Povetkin cheat and that fight was canceled, Povetkin cheated after that fight was canceled again.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I'm allowed to say Povetkin cheated because we won a lawsuit.
Right, you did, yeah.
But people should have empathy for Deontay right now. Ortiz doesn't bring great amounts of money to the table, but he's probably the third best heavyweight in the world right now. Right. And the reason Deontay wanted that fight was Deontay wanted to silence critics. Deontay wanted to answer all the questions about him. Was it his fault that the last boogeyman he was supposed to fight, Povetkin, thought he needed to cheat even in his own country to fight Deontay Wilder, and he got disqualified from the fight? And not his fault too. Whatever happened here, we didn't send out the letter. VADA did. We didn't cause an adverse test. So right now people should really understand that Deontay's a proud champion. He's a great athlete, and this is none of this stuff's been his fault.
Right, everything I'm seeing on Twitter, I mean, Deontay has some critics, and of course, everyone has critics, but it seems like the tide is starting to turn on him, and this is three times this has happened to him, and I was at the press conference at the Dream Hotel. First of all, great location, great food spread, too. Great job, Lou, on that. But I was...
Thank you, but I got to tell you something. What you were about to refer to was him directly saying to Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Luis, you've already had issues in the past. Please don't mess this up.
Exactly.
Please don't mess this up. Now, I got to tell you, with the Povetkin thing, I knew that this guy was Ortiz had problems in the past. But just the reaction that they're having right now, and I have a feeling that maybe there is something to the fact that this was doctor prescribed and he had a blood pressure problem. But it raises some other questions. Why didn't he just disclose it? Right. Obviously that was at best case scenario just a bad mistake. And the other thing is going to be, I'm sure, this is why I say there are other people involved, I'm sure the New York State Athletic Commission is going to want to have him physically checked out for cardiac issues and blood pressure and heart issues based upon that problem. So, you know, at the moment, you know, the WBC is not ruled. We don't have the situation totally resolved, but like I said, I think we're a day or two away, and 100% people, you know, November 4th, Deontay Wilder is going to defend his title at the Barclays Center. There's going to be a great card around it, and before that, by the way, to look at something that's not in the middle of controversy and turmoil. October 14th, 3 great 54-pound title fights at the Barclays Center, with one of my favorite fights of the year, Charlo against Harrison Lubin.
Can't miss.
On the card. You know, Lara against Gausha is on the card, and also Jared Hurd, you know, defending his title on a card against a former world champ. I mean, it's a tremendous triple header of 54-pound fights. Tony Harrison coming back in a competitive fight on the card. Cindy Serrano, one of the 2 champion Serrano sisters. So October 14th, you know, get your tickets now and support good, clean boxing on October 14th. And then we're going to come back with November 4th and get you the information you guys want as soon as we can.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get some clarity because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So just to sum it up, in about 2 days we will know what's going on with the opponent for Deontay Wilder. It's not going to be White, as you alluded to. It's going to be a big-time name.
I didn't say it wasn't going to be White either,
okay.
But what I didn't note is that there's a WBC mandatory and there was a step-aside arrangement here. So I was noting that fact. I'm not discounting anything. Me personally, I find it bizarre that in the United States of America, I'm talking to guys like you guys, we're knowledgeable. I can understand why in Great Britain, they're like, because being Great Britain supports Great Britain. They do it all the time. Why I keep hearing about the Dillian White. But meanwhile, Dillian White had a problem with performance-enhancing drugs and a suspension in his past. Yeah. So in my mind, that doesn't make me want to run to him right here. And additionally, I don't think he beat Derek Chisora. I don't even understand like why in this country like people are like spinning that like
right.
You know, hey, Dillian White. Why? I mean, I know there's a limited pool of heavyweights, but I don't get it. Is my point.
What would prevent Dominic Breazeale from getting into the ring? I've seen some. There's a lot of talk about them getting there. I know they had a little altercation at a hotel, and that's a fight that could be competitive.
Look, Breazeale had a great performance in his last fight. Knocked out a guy that was supposed to be the next big thing. A kid that was undefeated, had just been signed, and was sent over here with the idea that Breazeale was going to be, you know, his victim, and then Breazeale. It was a sensational fight, and Breazeale won. You know, Breazeale's certainly a viable guy. But like I said, Breazeale was going to fight. Breazeale was going to fight on the undercard in a step-aside bout.
Yeah.
Where it was a step-aside for Stavern, who is the mandatory. So Stavern isn't going to sit there and have the Breazeale fight canceled and agree to step aside. So, like my point being there is like we're not completely free to do whatever we want.
Gotcha. All right, Lou. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. How are you spending this beautiful Monday afternoon?
Actually, you know, I got so depressed by the news this morning.
Oh, yeah,
to wake up and find out the horrors. I got on the boat. I zipped across the Long Island Sound, and I'm sitting having a martini next to the water in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh, beautiful.
I guess it sounds pushy, but I'm giving myself part of a day off.
No, I hear you.
To get a little bit of sun and maybe enjoy the boat for one of the last times this year.
It's a beautiful day in New York, and it's a beautiful day whenever I get to talk to Lou DiBella. Thank you for coming on the show, Lou, and we hope to see you ringside soon.
Dan, man, always a pleasure, bro.
All right, take care. There he is, the one and only Lou DiBella, clearing some air for us. Interesting to hear that in 48 hours we'll have a resolution to this. He didn't rule out that it will be Luis Ortiz. Certainly seemed to say that he does not want to see Dillian White. It could happen, but Lou doesn't want to see that. It could still very much happen. Dominic Breazeale could be tough because they'd have to work off the step-aside fee that they paid Stavern. So it's a very fluid situation, and I appreciate Lou DiBella coming on with us to get to some of the facts here. I do feel bad for his man and Deontay Wilder. I know for a fact that Deontay Wilder wants to fight the biggest names in the sport. He's 31 years old. He's undefeated. He has a ton of knockouts. He wants that fight with Joshua. And as Lou said, is something I happen to agree with too. He didn't have to take this fight with Luis Ortiz. There's not a lot of money in it to fight Luis Ortiz. He doesn't have a huge fan base. There's no monetary incentive to fight a guy like Luis Ortiz. So I think people need to lay off a little bit of Deontay Wilder. I understand some of the criticism for Deontay Wilder, but a lot of it just comes like he can't help it at this point. He wanted to fight Povetkin. He's wanted to fight Luis Ortiz, and they're cheats. So let's, for 1 second, acknowledge a clean fighter, an American heavyweight, a clean fighter, Deontay Wilder. So we thank Lou for coming on the show. He also talked about his fight on 10/14 and October 14th at the Barclays Center. It's going to be an outstanding triple header. I mean, you take a look at the fights here. We're going to start the night with what do we got first? Austin Trout taking on Jarrett Hurd. For Jarrett Hurd, it's the first defense of his 154-pound title. Jarrett Hurd lands about 45% of his power shots, and you take a look over at Austin Trout. We know who Austin Trout is. He's a name in the sport. He's a veteran. The thing about Austin Trout that I found interesting from a numbers standpoint, opponents landing just 6.5 power shots per round. That's half of what the junior middleweight average is. So Jarrett Hurd is going to be in for a little bit of a fight here with a wily veteran in Austin Trout. But in that fight, Dan's pick, I like Jarrett Hurd to go rounds with Austin Trout and pick up the win. The second fight of the night on this October 14th card on Showtime that I'm really looking forward to, and I think a lot of boxing fans are looking forward to, is Jamel Charlo and Erickson Lubin. This fight has fireworks written all over it. Lubin, of course, was a 2016 ESPN Prospect of the Year, has big power, lands 55% of his power shots, and Jamel Charlo, last time we saw him in the ring, he disposed of Charles Hatley at the Barclays Center with a devastating knockout. I was actually in the crowd for that fight with a bunch of my buddies, and I said, we got to get to the... I know the undercards usually aren't the best, but this night it was. I said, we got to get to Barclays. We got to see this guy Charlo fight. And he delivered, knocked out Hatley. And this will be the second defense of his WBC world title. And that fight right there, I think, is going to steal the show. And then in the main event, you have another big name in Arizandi Lara going up against Terrell Gaucher. And for Lara, it's the sixth defense of his WBA 154-pound title. And Lara, we know what he's done. He's been in the ring with Canelo, Trout, Angulo, Paul Williams. The thing about Lara is he fights the Cuban style. I mean, he's a stick-and-move type of guy, as evidenced by his 14.4 plus-minus ranking, which is number 3. Of course, the people at CompuBox put those numbers together, and he lands 49% of his power shots, Lara. The thing with him is people say that he runs or he gets on his bike a lot. If you're landing 49% of your power, which ranks 3rd among all active fighters, I think you're doing something here. And for that fight, I like Lara to win, and I didn't make a pick for the Charlo one. I like Charlo in a very, very close fight that goes the distance. So that will be going down on October 14th at the Barclays Center. That's going to be a great one. And some of the other news in boxing kind of shocked us. It was Danny Jacobs going to Matchroom USA and HBO. I think it's a outstanding move for Danny Jacobs. He's a guy that coming off of a fight with Triple G that he put up a great effort. A lot of people thought that he fought a better fight than Canelo did. A few people saying that, and I know Danny Jacobs has said that. He's been on the record saying it. Of course he's going to say that. But it's a great move for Danny. He moves over to HBO. HBO has got the stable of 160 pounders. They got Canelo. They got Triple G. They got Lemieux. And I know that Danny Jacobs has a press conference scheduled for tomorrow in New York City where he's going to formally announce his partnership with Matchroom and HBO. And he's also going to announce his next fight, which is supposed to be sometime in early November in the Long Island, New York area. So I know that Danny Jacobs has his sights set on big fights, and he's 31 years old. His stock is very, very high right now, and he wants Canelo. I'd love to see Canelo Triple G. Who wouldn't want to see that fight? And a rematch with Triple G wouldn't be that bad. And also, you have Lemieux hanging around there. So there's a really good stable of 160 pounders on the HBO network. We know about the politics of the sport, and very interesting nugget from this Danny Jacobs signing with Matchroom. If you want to take this with a grain of salt, go ahead. But Eddie Hearn said that a lot of fighters called him after Danny Jacobs signed with Matchroom. And it makes you start to think, what fighters called him? You know, there are some fighters that are unhappy with the way they're being promoted, or there are some fighters that don't like being fighting 1 or 2 times a year. So it's interesting to see Eddie Hearn come to New York, come to America, because it's been talked about for a while now that he was going to come over here and bring his stable and start signing some fighters. Didn't think it was going to be Danny Jacobs. Very surprising move there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Danny Jacobs is a fighter that I want to see in the ring. Another fighter that I want to see in the ring, Vasyl Lomachenko. And this fight he has with Rigondeaux is getting crazy buzz. It's getting insane buzz on Twitter. I mean, you take a look, it's already sold out. MSG, it's at the theater, so I think it seats 5,500. And when I looked on Ticketmaster, it was about 90% sold out. There's only like, you know, some seats way in the back. But I'm calling this fight the Boxing Pure Super Bowl. You know, the boxing writers of America are clamoring over this. It's the first fight. It's history. It's historic, really, because it's the first time 2 fighters with multiple gold medals will face off against each other. It's going down December 9th on ESPN, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. It's going to be great, because I see that Bob Arum is on Twitter, which is hilarious. We got to get Bob Arum on the show. He would be a great guest. I need 30 minutes with Bob Arum. Not just to talk about this fight between Lomachenko and Rigondeaux, but just to talk about all his stories. And I've heard such just phenomenal storytelling, but he's got a real good one on Top Rank Boxing, December 2nd. It's been a great show thus far. We got to thank Tom Loeffler for coming on. He talked about Triple G Canelo negotiations. As far as he says, all systems are a go right now. Everything's moving forward nicely. He had no bad things to say about Golden Boy people and moving forward this fight. Triple G wants it. Canelo wants it. One thing that he did say that I found interesting is that he pretty much ruled out that Triple G is going to get into the ring in December. That's not going to happen. I know there were some rumors about Triple G potentially fighting Billy Joe Saunders or Miguel Cotto in December. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It came right from the mouth of Triple G promoter Tom Loeffler. So it looks like Triple G is going to take some much-needed time off before he gets into the ring with Canelo again, which looks like it will happen in May. Canelo's not fighting until May. We know that for a fact. It's May 5th. It's Cinco de Mayo. It's a big Mexican holiday. And we know we can count on... I think we can count on Canelo fighting May and September. Like, he's taking those 2 Mayweather dates for the foreseeable future. And why not? I mean, obviously you want to see fighters fight like Golovkin, who fight 4 times a year. But as for Golovkin, I mean, the guy's 35 years old now. We're seeing some signs of slowing down from Golovkin. He's throwing less punches. He's getting hit more. He's still cutting off the ring pretty well, but he had moments in the Canelo fight where I thought he could have cut off the ring even more and did some damage when he had him up against the ropes. But it's going to be interesting to see how Triple G fights this fight against Canelo, which no one is picking him to win, by the way. I can't believe the amount of people that are coming out and saying that Canelo's going to win the rematch. Send some comments here on who you think would win that rematch. But I mean, Triple G is used to fighting every 3 to 4 months. So now he's taking the longest layoff of his career after the longest or the toughest fight, or yeah, I would say it was the toughest fight of his career against Canelo. So it's going to be interesting to see how Triple G responds to the layoff and how he responds to being 1 year older. And as for Canelo, he's just closer to his prime. I mean, I don't want to sit here and talk about Triple G Canelo because it's a fight that's so far away, but it's got the people talking. Obviously, the biggest news in the boxing world is Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder. It shocked us on Twitter. I saw it. It came out late. It was like, I think it was like 12:30 Eastern time in New York, where I went on Twitter and someone like I think it was Maurice Suleiman, WBC president, sent out a tweet that Ortiz has failed a drug test And I was like, oh, God. I was hoping... If your first thought is hoping it's fake, because we're in the era of fake news, so maybe it was fake, or maybe he took the wrong substance, or you've heard every excuse in the book when it comes to steroids. You know, tainted meat. You've heard them all. Like in baseball, you've heard them in football, and unfortunately, it's made its way to boxing here. But you know, it's going to be interesting. Lou DiBella came on the show, and he talked about that in 48 hours, we will know who Deontay Wilder is fighting. 48 hours, Wednesday, hopefully, we will know who Deontay Wilder is fighting. Is it going to be Ortiz? Is it going to be Stavern? Is it going to be Brazil? We'll find out. But in addition to the Matchroom boxing news with Danny Jacobs, in addition to the Rigo news, Rigo Loma, in addition to the Ortiz news, there's also Andre Ward retiring from the sport of boxing, which led me to talk about a little bit about the retirees here in 2017. Have we ever seen a year like this? Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, Vladimir Klitschko, Marquez, Tim Bradley. That is four surefire Hall of Famers. Tim Bradley, questionable on the fence. He's going to get in, but he's not a first ballot. No. But, I mean, just take a look at those names. It's just unbelievable. And then the Hall of Fame has a rule here in place where you can only admit 3 fighters into the Hall of Fame. And it's going to be interesting to see who gets in, because Mayweather, lock. Andre Ward, lock. Klitschko, lock. Marquez. I mean, I'm just going to repeat myself over and over here. These are 4 locks. I mean, what is the Hall of Fame going to do here? But have we ever seen more? Have we seen a better list of retirees? You had Floyd Mayweather, who dominated the sport for 21 years, 15-0. Andre Ward, who did his thing, Olympic champion, 2-time world champ, retires on top, and then Klitschko, a fighter, one of my favorite fighters, and a fighter that I wanted to see fight Joshua again. I mean, that fight was just amazing. Klitschko Joshua was just insane, and that was a fight I wanted to see again, the rematch. And obviously it's not going to happen because Klitschko retired. But I mean, 2017 has been a great year for fights. We've had so many great moments, so many big fights, and it's also going to be remembered for a year where some of the greats have walked away. From the sport. Let's take a look at some of the questions here. Oh, Steve Heaton brings up a very good point, that Marquez is a different Hall of Fame year because it all goes on the last year you fought. That's a great point. So Marquez, who last fought, I would say like 2014, he's going to get in 2019, so that clears up one space. But the Hall of Fame still needs to get down, and they have to let more people in. Look at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Some years they don't let anyone in. I know in the Hall of Fame you have to allow people to get in. But let's take a look here at some of these comments. Wow, a lot of comments. Bob Jones. What ban is Wilder going to receive for being arrested? I don't know. I would have to ask Lou that one. Let's see. Tyson clearly had a problem with more serious drugs. I understand weed is banned, but is it really what you want? I agree with you there. It's a discussion for another time. A lot of discussions here, man. A lot of discussions in the comment section. I'm liking it. This guy, Bob Jones says Wilder hasn't fought a top 15 fighter other than Stavern in 2 years. Well, it's not his. I mean, it's not his fault. He wanted to get in the ring with Povetkin. Didn't happen. He's getting into the ring with Ortiz. Wanted to. This up in the air. He wants to fight Joshua, and he clearly knows that he has to step up. He could have fought a bum in this fight instead of Ortiz. He could have fought a nobody, but what good is that going to do him when he eventually steps into the ring with Anthony Joshua? Wilder came on our first episode and said that he knows he's on a crash course with Anthony Joshua. They know that fight is going to happen. Checking Twitter here. Oh, women's boxing wants to be discussed on the show. That's something we're going to have to highlight in our next segment. But before we go, it's been a great show. We want to introduce a segment here on Inside Boxing Live. There's always so much negativity in boxing. Talking about failed drug tests, talking about outside the ring issues and domestic violence and all that nonsense. There's so much negativity in the sport of boxing. 2017 has been such a great year for boxing in the ring, and I want to highlight something here called the Good Hook of the Week. It's highlighting someone that did something good in boxing, because there is good people in the sport of boxing, and our first Good Hook of the Week goes to Canelo Alvarez. He didn't have to do this, but he went to Mexico to be with his people. He donated $1 million to the Mexico earthquake victims. He skipped his holiday vacation, and as you can see in that picture right there, he's helping out. That is a great thing to see. Canelo is loved, beloved by his Mexican fans, and it was a devastating earthquake. And I've got to bring it up once again, the what happened in Las Vegas, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of fighters, both in boxing and in the UFC. We know the UFC is headquartered in Vegas. Top-rank offices are in Vegas. A lot of fighters live in Las Vegas. I know they're going to do the right thing. We're going to help out these victims. We're going to help out the families of these victims, because Las Vegas is going to bounce back from this. We're not going to let evil win. We're not going to let this continue to happen, and we're going to help out everyone in the great city of Las Vegas. It's a great show. We're going to wrap it up here. We have special thanks to Tom Loeffler of K2 Promotions. A special thanks to Lou DiBella, the one and only Lou DiBella, who's somewhere in Connecticut right now drinking a martini. He's the bougie promoter. We got to thank Lou. He's always the best when he joins us. And our super producer, Nick Canobio, and our executive producer, Mr. One and Only Bobby C. I'm Dan Canobio. I'm signing off. We'll see you next time on Inside Boxing Live.